you just got to be really motivated, really persistent, and really want it. Be very specific in your goal and what it is that you want, and just don't let those no's turn you away from your dreams. Sometimes those no's are put into place so that you can keep growing, you can keep building, you can keep getting better and better until you make yourself undeniable. I think it's really important to use that as fuel to really, get what you want. It's not always going to be easy. Being in the creative world, being an entrepreneur, being an actress, all of those things, they require for you to have a certain special kind of tenacity, a special kind of perseverance to really achieve what you want. And it hurts. Oh my God, I can't sit here and say that those challenges are easy just to take. It hurts. But I think in the end, it's so much more rewarding when you do finally start to get your vision to come to life for whatever field it is.
Well, Vanessa, welcome to From Vision to Creation. Thank you so much for taking the time to do this with us today.
Of course, I'm happy to. Thank you for having me.
No, it's such a pleasure to have you, Vanessa. You've built an incredible career that bridges entertainment, entrepreneurship, and empowerment. From growing up in one of hip hop's most iconic families to making your mark as an actress, co-founding Pastry, and expanding your creative vision through Sugar Me skincare and your glitter and lace fashion line, you've consistently found ways to evolve, build community, and champion women's confidence, whether through your work on screen, in business, or in motherhood. So I'm just excited to dive into how you've turned that legacy and passion into such a dynamic, purpose-driven career.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that amazing introduction. And I'm happy to talk about this. It's definitely my passion.
You were raised by one of the most iconic figures in hip hop. And I want to start there because I think that really sets the tone for your vision as an entrepreneur, an actress, and just an artist all the way around.
Yes.
Was there an early moment where you had the thought, hey, this is an industry that I would like to pursue when I get older?
Absolutely. I mean, just growing up around so much creativity, my dad really got involved in music pretty early on. And I was born into him really, diving into his goals and his dreams and getting to see that in real time. Like that was my entire life. So from an early age, I knew I always wanted to be creative, even just from like doing plays at school. I was like, this would be really cool to make into an actual profession. And I got to see my dad show me that there is no limits to how far you can go as long as you put in the work. And so, yeah, from an early age, I've always known what I've wanted to do. And it's definitely evolved over the years as I've grown as an artist and even as an entrepreneur. So, yeah, I would definitely say my background has a strong influence on what I've always wanted to do. And I've always wanted to be creative. Yeah.
How old were you when Run's House first started filming?
I had just turned 21 when Run's House started filming. I was fresh out of college. I went to St. John's University to get my BA in communications and business. And so it was literally the summer after I finished at St. John's in 2005 that we started filming the actual series Run's House on MTV.
And I ask because I feel that, especially just like when you're 21 years old, you're really young. That's a really big change to happen to anybody, starting to film a reality TV show. What do you feel was the biggest thing that you had to change about your life when you first started filming the show?
When we first started filming the show, I feel like reality TV was kind of new. It was kind of in its infancy. So we really didn't really quite know what we were getting ourselves into. We just knew that it was going to be a lot of fun. We had already shot the pilot, and there wasn't much that I changed about myself. I just really was authentically myself, and getting to film the show with my family was the best because it just kind of kept us authentic. So there wasn't really much that I changed. I think as years went on, that's when I started to maybe shift and adjust things about myself. But I think that those first few seasons of Run's House, like you really got the authentic essence of who I am and who I was with my family. And it was just the best time ever, honestly, just to be able to film a show with your family and like essentially like we were like goofing off and having fun and just showcasing the love that we had amongst each other. And then also like striving for our goals and our dreams because we were on a huge platform being on MTV. Like that was a really huge deal. And then my sister and I got to expand that by having our own spin-off, which was just like amazing. It was like a dream come true, honestly. So I would say there wasn't much that I changed about myself, but just more so gave my authentic self to the platform and the show and the opportunity in general.
And that's so cool, Vanessa, that you were able to have that opportunity and then just be yourself. Because I'm sure now looking back, I'm sure when you watch the show, when you go back and watch, old clips or things like that, I'm sure there are a bunch of things that you've learned about yourself, back, being able to look back at yourself all that way, in hindsight.
Yeah, it definitely makes you super self-aware. And that comes with its pros and its cons, to be honest, because then you're like, ooh, maybe I'm being too vulnerable or, so it makes you super self-aware. I will definitely say that. But then at the same time, I love bringing up those old clips and getting to show my daughter because it's like showing her a family album essentially in times that she wasn't around, so she gets to see her uncles and her aunts super young, and the journey of my sister and I starting pastry, and all of those amazing moments that we may not have captured on an iPhone because that came later on. So I'm able to show her that, and it's something that I take a lot of pride in. I love having those moments to look back on and really see how far I've actually come.
I've always said anybody with family reality TV shows, you guys have the best home videos, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's the best. I love it. I get to go back and just laugh at like so many moments that we shared together and just, it reroutes me also to be able to go back and like watch that.
And Vanessa, you just mentioned that there were times where you would question, am I being too vulnerable here? Can you share with us a time that you kind of asked yourself that question and where you kind of ended up in your mind after presenting yourself with the question and then reflecting on it for a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I ask myself that question all the time. I think that when you are out there and you have a platform like that, you always look back and you be like, "Ooh, is that cringe? Was that like doing too much?" And I think with the emergence of social media, which we also experienced while we were filming the show, that's really when you start to question yourself because there are so many opinions and comments coming from every which way that sometimes you question yourself. But I feel that as I've grown as a woman, I don't regret any of those moments. I've learned to love and love on every part of myself, and just always know that I'm being authentic. And I think that that is what is the best thing that you could possibly do when you have a career where everyone is looking and everyone has opinions, just accepting that they're going to have those opinions, whether good, whether bad. But as long as I'm always authentically being myself, then, I've done my best. And, I'm quite proud of myself and the journey that I've had.
And Vanessa, you actually just mentioned something really important here. You guys were quite literally some of the earliest pioneers in reality TV. I mean, I remember, I would get home from school, turn on MTV, and I would see Run's House. And there were not many reality shows, period, at that time.
No, we really got on TV early on, and it actually really helped shape us as entrepreneurs, really shape our goals and our dreams. And I think the most important and best part of that was getting to share those experiences with other people. And like, when me and my sister were building the sneaker company really early on, we got to show other young ladies that they could do it too. They could build businesses because at the time there really was no blueprint. There were no young female entrepreneurs. And so we were just, I won't say winging it, but like we didn't have anyone else young to look at that was doing it at that time. So yeah, I'm very thankful for how far we've come and my start that I did get in the industry.
How did reality TV open doors, and what doors did it not open that you had to build yourself?
Oh, it opened so many doors because it gave us so much visibility and people got to really see us and feel like they got a chance to know us. So it did open a lot of doors for me. Like I said, my sister and I had our own spinoff. We got to build a business online, which is you can't pay for that kind of promotion for a business. And so we really got to showcase us building this business. And then it also made other people interested in what we were doing. So then it kind of helped to really shape that business. And it was a perfect model. And we see it a lot happening in other reality shows with other families that they use their reality show as a vehicle to really promo and push their businesses. So, I mean, it was absolutely amazing to be able to do that on reality TV at the level that we got to do that.
And what doors did it not open that you had to open yourself?
Oh, the doors that it didn't open, it did not really necessarily help me in terms of being an actress because sometimes it limited me in ways that people would be like, well, she's a reality TV star. So they put me in this box. And I really had to knock down that door myself by consistently shaping my craft and learning and falling and getting hundreds and thousands, feels like thousands of no's before I started to get the yeses to get hired. I really had to show people because in some ways it was amazing for me and it helped build my businesses, but in other ways it definitely hindered my progress as an actress. So that door, I really had to push down myself. And I'm still opening that door. I'm still showing people, hey, I'm an actress, casting directors who may not be familiar with my work. I'm still, trying to showcase myself in the best way possible. So in those ways, it hindered me. So like I said, there are pros and there are cons to be on reality TV. And for my acting career, yeah, I really had to push that door open myself.
Vanessa, I'm so glad that you just brought up being told no, what you think has been thousands of times, because I think that that is one of the most, and this is actually a very common theme that we discuss on the show. I think it's so important for people, especially younger people who are just starting off in their careers, to hear because sometimes you can be being told no, and you can take that as, well, maybe this path isn't for me. But when you're told no, that doesn't mean that it's necessarily a no from everyone forever. It's just a
Yeah.
no in that moment.
Yeah. And it's you just got to be really motivated, really persistent and really want it. Be very specific in your goal and what it is that you want and just don't let those no's turn you away from your dream. Sometimes those no's are put into place so that you can keep growing, you can keep building, you can keep getting better and better until you make yourself undeniable. I think it's really important to use that as fuel to really, get what you want. It's not always going to be easy. Being in the creative world, being an entrepreneur, being an actress, all of those things, they require for you to have a certain special kind of tenacity, a special kind of perseverance to really achieve what you want. And it hurts. Oh my God, I can't sit here and say that those challenges are easy just to take. It hurts. But I think in the end, it's so much more rewarding when you do finally start to get your vision to come to life for whatever field it is. Um, you just got to use that as motivation to keep getting up, keep saying yes to yourself, keep saying yes to your goals, and not let it repel you. Because one no doesn't mean anything. A few no's. There are so many people who are so extremely successful who have had so many challenges in their way, and all we see is the overnight success. Because that's what it seems like when you see someone blow up, like, wow, it happened so fast for them. But chances are they kept pushing and they kept going and they had tons of challenges they had to overcome. And those are the stories that I get inspired by to keep going for the goals and the dreams that I have for myself, even currently.
Mhm. No, I love this. It's so true. I had a guest on the show who said it took him 10 years to be an overnight success. So it's like,
Yeah, it's tough, man. But you know what? Through all of that, I still absolutely love what I do, and I'm so thankful that I get to do it on the platform and on the level that I get to experience it on. It's worth it.
absolutely. And I think that, especially in the creative industry, but you're right, it can be any industry, you're going to be told no. I mean, it's just the way that it is. So, you have to have that personality that you're talking about. Be fearless, put yourself out there, get ready for them. But then slowly but surely, you'll start to get yeses. I feel like if you're passionate about what you do and you are committed to doing a good job, if you're persistent about that, it will work out. So it's like, it's kind of funny because you need no's in order to get to the yeses. And then oftentimes people say that the more you're told yes, the more you're told yes.
Yeah, that's just the way it goes. That's just the game. It's like a little game that we have to play. It's like, okay, I got to know where can I improve so that I can be undeniable. That's always my goal. Like, be undeniably good.
I love that. And Vanessa, have you ever had to make a decision early on in your career to protect your long-term brand, not just, benefit from some type of short-term exposure?
Absolutely. I think the being in entertainment, being creative, being in any field, really, there are going to be certain things that you have to turn down, and it's all going to be about discernment and what your ultimate goals are. That's why it's good to constantly check in with yourself on what your goals are and how they're growing over time, because your goals won't always be the same as you get deeper into what it is that your vision is. Things are going to grow. So it's always good to just constantly check in with yourself, check in with your goals to make sure that the opportunities that you're connecting with are aligning you with your ultimate goal. And just it's personal and it's different for everybody what that looks like. But yeah, there are going to be things that you have to turn down that, may seem like a good opportunity, but don't align you to what your ultimate goal is.
And how do you make that distinction, Vanessa? Like, has there ever been a time where you were presented with an opportunity and on the surface, it sounded good, it looked good, maybe you were even excited about it, but
Yeah.
there was something in you that was like, maybe not. Like, how do you determine whether it's the right thing for you or not?
Well, first of all, I'm a woman of faith. So, like, I pray about everything. I pray. I'm like, God, please, show me a sign if this is the right opportunity for me to take, if this isn't the right opportunity. So, that's first and foremost. And then, like I said, I always go to my little journal. I journal everything. And then I go and check and see if it's going to align me with what I ultimately want, how I want my vision to turn out. So, it's a lot of like, prayer, meditation, calm, and then like making the executive decision and understanding that you are ultimately the boss of your life and your career. And so making those executive decisions.
It sounds to me kind of like you're saying basically be in touch with yourself. And if you are
Yeah.
a person of faith, in touch with your creator or the God that you believe in,
Yeah.
quieting your mind to be able to hear the right answer.
Absolutely. It's all about, yeah, making those decisions and being in touch with what your ultimate goal is and being in touch with yourself. Will this bring me happiness? Will this bring me closer to my dreams and my goals? Like, I think the decision making process is definitely different for everybody. And it's such a personal thing.
I agree. And I'm also really glad that you're talking about this, Vanessa, because I feel that a lot of people are convinced that, you end up becoming convinced sometimes not to listen to yourself. But I think that if you are quiet enough and if you ask yourself, is this the right thing for me? No matter what it is, it can be in business, it can be in the arts, or it can just be a personal choice. I think that if you're quiet enough, you can hear the answer. So I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, and I just want to add one more thing. I highly suggest having a mentor, having somebody that can help guide you, lead you, give you wisdom, someone that has been where you want to go, or someone with the resources that you need. And not just resources, meaning like monetarily, but just like the wisdom that they can impart on you and, help guide you and lead you in the right way. And there are so many different ways that we can get mentors. It can be someone that we know, it can be someone that you admire online. You just take a chance and reach out to them. Or it could be even just digitally learning. A lot of people offer courses and classes and things of that nature that you can just get wisdom. So always seek wisdom and don't only lean on yourself. Definitely bring somebody else into the fold that can help you. Collaboration is also going to be super key to, reaching your fullest potential.
Absolutely. And Vanessa, you founded several ventures at this point. What is one thing you've learned about yourself, both personally and professionally, while building these brands?
So I've had to overcome overthinking things and also not it's really hard for me to like bring a project to the market and not feel like it's going to if it's not going to be perfect, I won't pursue it. So a lot of times I would hold myself back because I'm like, "Oh, it's not perfect. It's not ready." But really the goal, I think that the what I've learned is you just got to start. If you have a goal, you have a vision, you have an idea, just start in any small way, however that may look to you. I've been very blessed to be able to build different companies. And, sometimes those businesses don't work out, they're not around, but you can't let those failures get you down. You just use those failures as lessons to build your ultimate goal, your ultimate dream and vision. I was very lucky and blessed to be able to do pastry at such a young age. It was such a huge business, and it did so well that the next couple of businesses that I did, they didn't work out the way that I wanted them to. And sometimes they would hold me back instead of me just immediately getting the lesson in it and moving forward confidently. So I would say my biggest lesson and what I can share with other entrepreneurs coming up is like, definitely make your vision like very clear, write everything down, get your vision clear, get a mentor, and then just keep pushing. Just every day small steps towards your ultimate goal will get you to where you need to go. It doesn't need to be one big huge push, and like they say, cannot build Rome overnight. I think I got that right, but yeah, it's that applies to business building. You just got to take those small steps. Next thing you know, you can look up and you'll have a huge success on your hands. But it's because you kept going. It's because of the work ethic, and it's because of your sharpened vision each step of the way. Because every time you make a step, your vision will get a little sharper. You'll get more ideas. Everything will grow. So it's about taking those small, attainable steps every single day to get to the ultimate goal.
You brought up two really interesting things right now, Vanessa. The first one is that so after pastry, you started a business and you even thought, oh, this business is holding me back. I'm so glad you brought this up because this has yet to be talked about on this show. It's so easy to start a venture and you're going to put your effort into it, blood, sweat, and tears into a new business. And then if it doesn't work out, I think that a lot of ego can get involved in that. Like, oh, like I've put so much time and energy into this, it has to work out. Even if you're not like loving the process anymore and you're not feeling super passionate about it and it's not getting the response you'd hoped it would, I think that it can be very easy to attach to that ego and say, all right, well, I'm going to hang in there. When really, sometimes, to your point, it can just be, hey, you know what? I learned these lessons. It's time to move on now.
Yeah, you got to learn when it's time to pivot. And that's a personal thing to know, and to also let the ego down, because the ego can hold you back from so many different things. Like I've had companies, like I said, that have failed. I started a lingerie company called Rose by Vanessa Simmons a few years ago, 2012 I think it was, and it didn't work out. Sugar Meat and Glitter and Lace are both companies that also fell apart during the pandemic. So that was really super particularly hard for me because you know there was so much going on in the world, and it's just the business model didn't hold up. But with all of those things that didn't work out for me, I was able to shift and pivot what I'm doing into businesses I'm working on today. One of them being a collaboration and partnership with a company called Magic Boop. So I'm back in lingerie, but in a completely different way, working with an incredible inventor who has created this product, a patented bra that gives you an instant like boob lift. And so I'm able to empower women through, that, and helping them to be fearless in their fashion choices, which is really important to me because I've been limited in so many different ways sometimes wearing fashion because I don't have a boob job or anything like that. But this product just makes you feel empowered. So I was able to take that loss with Rose, but now putting all those lessons that I learned building that company, and it failed for the reasons it failed, but now I can bring those lessons into what I'm doing with Magic Boob, which is incredible. I'm doing a lot of great marketing efforts and helping her to bring it to the market in a really strong way, and just using it as a vehicle to empower women. And then I'm also working on a company called Euphoria, which is a wellness company, and it started off as just a way to empower people through wellness, giving them tips, giving them, just inspiration to live their best, healthiest life. And now it is transitioning to be a film company. And we have our first short film that is based around, mental health awareness. And so I'm really excited about the projects that I'm doing, because I still stay in my creative bag and I'm doing things that empower the community, which have always been, the main vehicle for what I do. I just want to inspire and empower people in all the creative ways that I can. So I hope that answered your question. I feel like I may have pivoted a little bit in that, but my point was just know when to pivot, how to pivot, and always keep your goal and your vision ever growing. So I'm really, really excited about these new projects that I have. And I'm using everything I learned from the things that didn't work out and putting it into my new companies and, what I have to offer.
No, you answered the question beautifully. And I think that there is a huge lesson in this right here. It's that although you can look back at the lingerie venture that you said quote unquote failed, but it's not a failure unless you totally give up and throw in the towel.
Yeah.
Really, you were preparing yourself for what you're doing now. Because had you not gone through that process, who knows if this new opportunity would have come up. So
Yeah. Or if I would have been right for the opportunity. So, yes, it definitely taught me a lot.
and you said something else, Vanessa, that was really important. And that was that to just get started, you put one foot in front of the other, and then your vision becomes more and more clear. And then the next steps that you need to do start to present themselves. And I totally agree with that, because in every single thing I've ever done, I've arrived at crossroads where I'm like, okay, should I make this decision or should I make this one? But that statement has held true for me, in that when I do put one foot in front of the other, even if I don't know what step 10 is going to be when I'm on step 2, by the time I get to step 7, 8, 9, I start to see step 10 coming very clearly.
Yeah, it's kind of like magic, but I just think it's the energy you're putting into it is creating more energy and getting everything ready to go. It's exciting. It's really exciting to be able to pursue your creative ventures and see it come to life.
And Vanessa, like we talked about earlier, your dad is one of the most iconic figures in hip hop and music in general. Which I know that you also mentioned that you got to see a lot of creativity. You got to be, I'm sure you had a front row seat in a lot of amazing projects growing up.
Yeah.
But has there been a misconception about being Run's daughter that you've had to rewrite for yourself?
Oh my God, 100%. People think that like my dad funds my life, or, he can just walk me into doors, and that's just simply not it. Like, I will not sit here and pretend like I didn't have access, to certain people, but I had to be ready for those opportunities in order to move on to the next level. I had to really have that kind of work ethic to be able to scale and to grow. So while I was very blessed to grow up in the way that I did, and I had all of the inspiration that I could need, I had all the support from my dad, which is incredible. But in order for me to grow and to have, the opportunities I have and the ones that I am continuously also seeking, you got to have that work ethic to be able to move up in this industry. It just is what it is. People talk about nepo babies all the time, but the nepo babies that you do see working are the ones that are putting in that work every single day. It's just that's just what the name of the game is. You have to have that work ethic. You have to have perseverance. You got to be resilient. That's definitely another thing. Um, and know that people are gonna, have things to say, and they may not always know what they're talking about, and be okay with them saying that and not let it affect you.
And I think that sometimes the opposite can happen in certain situations. People could easily say, "Oh, like you had it easier than other people. So your life was just smooth sailing the whole time. But actually, and it's kind of like goes in line with being a reality star than trying to move into film. You'd think, oh, they're in entertainment already, so the switch is going to be so easy. But it's not the case all the time. In fact, it can also be even harder. Like you have to, when you show up to a room or in a meeting, especially if it's going through, family connections or through friends, you have to be 10 times more prepared than the person that's just showing up that's kind of, new to the scene, because you want them to take you incredibly seriously.
100%. I always say I feel like I have to be a unicorn because it's not just enough to just be there and present and decent. I have to be, even better than the new person that's coming in because there's a higher level of expectation from me
Mm.
and my education, my background. So people expect me to be a peer. It's almost like you're not allowed to grow. You got to come prepared, you got to come ready, you just got to bring it all. So it can be harder at times because yeah, the expectation level.
Mhm. And Vanessa, I want to talk to you about the journey moving from reality TV to acting. What was the first step that you took in your acting career?
My first step I took in my acting career was getting into class. Like I knew I always wanted to live out here in Los Angeles. I'm a New York native. So the first thing I did was find a good drama school. And I came to LA maybe a year before I moved here officially. And I just studied. I went to the New York Film Academy. They have a branch out here that is on the Universal lot. And I came and I got into class and I just submerged myself in all things drama, all things acting, finding the right teachers, finding the right communities where I could grow and just know my stuff so that I, knew what I was doing when I came out here, not just running around blindly, but like actually learning and getting really involved in acting, I guess you could say.
Has there been a particular role that you've had that really challenged you? And that was like maybe the character was just so different from who
Yeah.
you are personally that you had to completely step out of who it is that you are and into this character.
I've had so many, but I would say this role I did on a show called Craig Ross Jr.'s Monogamy. My character was a boxer, and um, she just was completely different from me. And I was working with so many vets in the game on that show, and I just really wanted to show them that I could also have a seat at that table and be just as good as everyone that was on board. So that project really stretched me as an actress. And, I had to really make really bold choices that are completely different. I'm completely girly girl. And Caroline was more like a little bit more rough, a little bit more street smart and savvy. And she was just different from me in every way, but she's also just been my favorite role to play because it really stretched me as an actress. And such a good experience working on that show. We had 3 seasons.
And for a role like that, did you have to take boxing classes?
I took boxing classes. I took like I hired someone to come in and really help me how to move and punch and do all of that because like before that I would punch so like flimsy. It was like that's not gonna cut it. Like you really gotta like embrace this role. So I was a lot of physical activity for me, a lot of training with my trainers, bringing in boxers, just getting familiar with that world a little bit, even though we didn't see Caroline always, actually in combat, but she needed to really have that aura and that energy of being a world class champion. So a lot of work went into that.
And Vanessa, you are an entrepreneur, an actress, and a mother. How do you balance all three?
Geez. Prayer, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation. And I feel like there is no balance. Every day I base my day on, of course, my schedule and what I have going on, but what needs the most attention. It might be motherhood in that time where my daughter has a lot going on and she needs my support. It might be acting. I might be, in a in production on a project that requires me to be learning lines quickly and, really knowing what I want to put forth there. So the balance really just comes from me taking care of myself and then journaling and just, being really specific with my time and my energy and what needs it the most in the time. But I hope that answered, but there really is no true balance, to be honest. I just do my best and forget the rest. That's something my dad always says to me. And I just put that forth every single day. Like, I'm just going to get up, I'm going to do my best and give 100%.
No, it's true. And, like balancing is so funny to me sometimes because I always ask the question because I'm curious what people are going to say. But I happen to agree with you. I don't think they're really, if you're doing anything and you're trying to do a really good job at a really high level, I don't think there is such a thing as balance. And just to be real, like I can't even imagine having a kid too. Like I can barely take care of myself and my dog with all the things that I have going on.
It's tough. And it really takes a community, it takes building a community to really help you and, grow your vision. Like for 2 weeks, I was just out of town. I just did a movie. I was in Louisville, Kentucky, and I just gave my all to the film while I was on set. And I'm so thankful that I was able to have a community here that was able to take over, my duties for taking care of my daughter and all the house things. And then I just gave 100% to the movie. So, like I said, it changes with the project that I'm working on daily.
Has there ever been a time that you said no to something to protect your energy?
You have to. Protecting your energy is the name of the game. And so, yeah, you feel it out and sometimes the answer just has to be no. That's part of wellness, that's part of self-care is being able to confidently say no, I'm protecting my energy. This isn't worth my energy. This isn't something that I want to do or give my energy to. So, protecting your energy I think is key for anyone living any life across any platform or whatever. Protecting your energy is key.
Vanessa, what kind of legacy do you hope to leave for your fans and for your daughters when they're looking back at all the work you've done?
It's so hard to put into a couple of words, like when you talk about things like legacy. But I would say that I would hope my legacy would just be someone who, inspired and empowered people to be their best possible version of themselves. I'm always striving to be better every single day. I make my own self my competition to just be better than I was yesterday. And so I hope that when that legacy will just be someone who was inspirational and empowering in all ways.
And Vanessa, what is your definition of success and how has it changed over the years?
My definition of success has definitely changed over the years. My definition of success would be having joy through doing what I'm doing and not being overwhelmed by sometimes the work can be a little bit overwhelming. And so just being able to have that joy and radiate it through all the different projects that I'm blessed to work on. Um, that's my definition of success. Keeping and maintaining that peace, that joy, that happiness that really got me started in the first place.
I love that. And Vanessa, what has been the biggest lesson you've learned so far?
Stop overthinking everything. That's been my biggest lesson, and everything that I've been going through in 2025 has been like, stop overthinking, just put your best foot forward and do it. Just do it. Whatever that it is, do it. Like, stop overthinking. That's one thing that I've had to overcome. And fear of failure. Um, it's only failure if you give up.
Where's the best place that people can find you and keep up with you, your work, and everything you've got going on?
The best place that you guys can find me is probably my Instagram. It's at Vanessa J Simmons. I like to keep it as current as possible with all the projects that I have going on and things coming up. So I would say, yeah, on my Instagram.
And Vanessa, if you could go back in time and offer your younger self one bit of advice right before you embarked on your career journey, actually, if you could go back and talk to your 21-year-old self before you filmed the first episode of your reality show and give yourself one bit of advice, what would it be?
If I can give the 21-year-old me advice, it would be to have fun. There are times that I feel like I've been so serious, like just because I had so many goals and such a strong vision for myself. And when it seemed like it wasn't coming together the way I wanted it to come together, I would get fearful or worry. So I would just say, have fun with the process because it's such a blessing to be able to do what you're about to embark on and just enjoy every second of it. Enjoy. Have fun.
Well, Vanessa, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. This was amazing. I really appreciate you coming on.
Of course, thank you for having me. It was fun being able to talk about everything and just, share some reminders. Thank you.